I just think that most people don't have the skill for good original writing, and they're much better off crafting their prompt and creating content with AI.
All economic progress and all asymmetric returns are made on the margins. So it is a necessary condition to create new insights and to have actual new output from things in order to create progress and economic growth.
If you're looking for perfect, why? Like, if it gives you the 98% solution where you have to change 5 words, that's good enough for me. That still saves you a ton of time.
Curious to hear your take on is that now Monad basically launched into the worst market conditions we have seen any launch happen throughout the last probably 18 months or so.
They should just get very familiar using AI. And if you're like a curious, bright individual, you will still have original thinking. I don't think you can train that away.
GM.
Hey.
Are we so back, or is it still Jover?
I'm not sure, but I think Monad just launched.
Yep. Let's take a look at the Hyperliquid chart. Let me share the screen really quick. If I remember correctly, it has a circulating supply, or like a total supply of 1 billion tokens, or like 10 billion or whatever. So it's currently trading at a 2.7 billion FTV. I think that's like reasonable for any of these new launches. I think Plasma was trading a little higher when it first launched. But yeah, given the market conditions, I think it's somewhat in a fair range. Were you eligible for it at all?
Yeah, some small on Ethereum wallets.
Yeah, staked dinner money. Do you have any plans on what to do with it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put it all in stables and put it into my retirement fund.
Nice. When do you plan to enter into retirement?
Like 70 years. No, just kidding. So
just one more cycle.
Make it all back. And then leave CT forever. I mean, I have like, I don't even know, 2K, something like that. And I'm planning to full port everything into some Monad token. I anticipate there will be a runner. Not necessarily like full meme coin, but I'm going to look into the Monad ecosystem later today and just see what makes sense and then like full port everything. Like I'm not even going to sell half. I'm just going to full port everything into like 1-2 things.
So you basically want to trade early ecosystem runners and try to find some outperformer there.
I mean, according to math, right? Not crystal ball. There should be some stuff in the first 2 days that is like an easy 3 to 5x. Obviously, market sentiment is horrible. But yeah, let's see. I mean, the worst thing I can do is like just like hold Mon. That's just going to be down only from here. I think it's an easy short, although I don't really short stuff because I don't know, it just feels destructive and the upside is capped. But in general, I think Mon is not going to perform too well over the next months and years. So I'd rather just buy some ecosystem play. Or you mentioned maybe farm like some ecosystem DeFi.
Yeah, I think that's a very likely outcome for the Monad token, that it's going to behave similar to Plasma, which launched around a month or a month and a half ago. And I think Plasma overall was received quite positively, and they launched into basically all-time high conditions and market sentiment for this cycle. I mean, sentiment was never that hypey, but the market looked very healthy. BTC was at all-time highs. ETH was still far above 4,000. I think Solana was still over the $200 mark. So they launched into very healthy market conditions, but they had a decent ecosystem life at launch. I think they had a lot of the major DeFi apps over there. Of course, it was not really a perps and like super degen focused chain, but they had all the essential infrastructure to like bring volume over. They had lending markets. They had Pendle over there, so you could do yield trading. But basically what happened is that XPL quickly devolved into just another farm and dump token, and there was no clear differentiator that Plasma was able to establish within the first weeks after launch, which is super important if you want to survive in the mid to long term as a chain. Because otherwise, you will face the same destiny as all of the alt layer ones in 2021 and 2022, where during 2022, especially after Luna, everybody realized that basically there is no differentiator between them, and capital just like continuously exited, and what many of the layer twos faced in 2023 and 2024. And I mean, to be frank, some of them, I think it was Starknet 2 years ago, it launched at a 20 billion FDV, and that was just an L2. So yeah, I think it's much less hypey, but it's hard for me to make a high conviction positive thesis for how Monad is going to perform well. So I think what makes sense strategically is to just bridge a little bit of DeFi capital over and focus on farming it as a shiny new thing. It's probably plus EV to engage over there. Might not make sense to go over there with huge sums because you'll quickly dilute the yields because there's not a lot of organic ecosystem activity established yet. But I think there are going to be some ecosystem airdrops coming up with some of the applications. So if you're just engaging, if you're just playing around with stuff, I think that is going to play out well in the future. But what I would be curious to hear your take on is that now Monad basically launched into the worst market conditions we have seen any launch happen throughout the last probably 18 months or so. Do you think that you get an advantage as a team if you launch into bearish market conditions, or should you try to time your launch with bullish market conditions overall?
So oh wow, it's dumping. I've done and I've coordinated and I've participated in multiple token launches. I would pick launching into bearish market conditions any day over launching into peak bull market conditions. And it's simple because you can never outperform macro. I think that's like a basic rule. And I'm not even like a good trader, or I don't understand much. But one thing I've seen is if the market conditions are bad, 99% of the stuff goes down. Of course, there's always the like 2-3 outliers that you can pick that preserve or even go up in value. And if the market conditions are good, everything goes up. So I think, generally speaking, it's much healthier to launch into a bearish market and then kind of build momentum. And I'm gonna comment. There's a caveat here. And then build momentum and then transition into bullish market conditions and basically help everyone to make money, because the end goal is everyone should make money. That's the goal. If everyone loses money, then like it's the worst type of community you can imagine, right? And there's two things which are not ideal here. One, the valuation. I think it's like a high FTV VC chain, which means, you know, I don't know. I don't know the exact tokenomics, but assuming there is a notion of unlocks, or there's a notion of like supply that certain players got access to at a very, very cheap prices, this will definitely create sell pressure. That's why I'm generally short. In conjunction with the fact that I think that we go into consolidation mode for the next 10 months, that's obviously a bearish outlook. But then like those two things, right? Like high FTV VC chain plus it looks like we're entering into consolidation.
Well,
that's not ideal.
I wouldn't say that 2.5 billion is extremely high FTV. Of course, it is high, given that there's no established track record of any like ecosystem and like organic ecosystem participants, etc. But if you compare it to what we've seen in the past, I think you could almost call it reasonable. And the float is not that large either. So the market cap is only at 277 million, which I think is for an L1, which at least on paper, is looking pretty all right in terms of performance metrics, etc. I think the launch overall, I mean, I have not super actively participated in it, but I got a little bit of an allocation and like just following it along on X. It seems like it's quite a smooth launch. So I don't think that like there's a reason to be super bearish on Monad from like minute one.
I agree with that. I think 2.5 is okay. It's still high in bad market conditions. Like, okay, let's look at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. I don't care. I use CoinGecko. Let me check CoinGecko, and let me sort by market cap, and let me check where 2.5 would put it. Okay, so 2.5 would put it into top 50. That's where Aave is valued. So under normal circumstances, I would say Aave should be worth way more than Monad. But Monad has the benefit of the layer 1 premium launch, so to speak. So I don't know who's behind it. I don't know who may crime it. But obviously there's a chance for it to go to 5 billion or even 10 billion before it goes to below a billion, which I think, again, I'm very pessimistic on these things, but I think like Nomad has to go through some sort of consolidation before it can build strength, build like community, and then go up again, especially in this market condition. So I think I definitely see Monad below a billion at some point in the next 1 or 2 years, but that doesn't mean that there's not another quick like even look at the pump launch, right? Like although it's pretty low right now, they went through a couple of pumps, even post ICO. So I think this is realistic.
The comparison to pump is much more accurate because now you're comparing FDV and not market cap. I mean, the Monad market cap is only 270 million and not 2.5 billion, but it's basically sitting at the same FDV as pump.fun. So in terms of fully diluted valuation, that would put it somewhere into the top 7.
Yeah. Only FDV matters.
No. It's not irrelevant, but I don't think that only FDV matters because the way these token unlocks work is like fundamentally different between different projects.
I think I think in general, like when I look at market cap, the thing I'm interested in mainly is FDV and not liquid market cap, because like I said, like I don't want to judge something not knowing that there may be a large unlock in 2 months, which will 5x the supply. Stupid example, but I think when I look at tokens to categorize them where they fit, for example, compared with Aave, the thing I would compare it with is like both FDVs, and Aave is pretty close to FDV, like 2.5. I think FDV is 2.6, 2.7 or something. That's what I meant. Obviously, there's differences and stuff like that, especially in the mechanics. But, you know, Monad, you know, it's a big enough launch to be listed on probably every major exchange from day one. You know what is Monad going to be on other chains? Like, is Monad going to be in Solana?
I don't think so. I mean, Monad is an EVM, so I wouldn't know why the Monad token would like natively or semi-natively trade over on Solana. But I do think that there's quite a bit of overlap with the Solana community just because they're both kind of trying to prove the point of, okay, a high performance, high throughput chain actually matters. But yeah, I don't think that there's any direct connection to Solana or the Solana eco.
No, I'm asking because it's an opportunity to LP. If there is a legitimate bridge that allows the Mon token on Solana, which is a canonical bridge, I think in the first 48 hours, LPing could be super interesting because that's where most of the trading activity happens. And I've seen people, like, I don't know if you remember the Melania launch, but like Melania launched because like Photon and Axiom and all these tools, they didn't have Meteora pools hooked in. There were people making millions in LP fees with like a couple thousand LP positions. So I think that's another interesting outlook to just like try to LP on Ethereum or on Solana, like some major ecosystem that is not Monad. On Monad, I assume the liquidity is going to be sufficient. Anyways, just thinking out loud. Obviously, there's like different plays here, but I think I'm going to mainly look into an ecosystem play on Monad.
Yeah. So if you want to bridge, if you look at the native bridge, it's powered by Wormhole and Stargate powered by Layer 0. I think you can select Solana as an origin chain. At least if you use the native bridge, which is
What's this
powered.
website?
It's app.monad.xyz. I don't have a wallet in this browser, so I can't see if you can actually LP into it.
Layer 0. Let's see. Select Mon on Monad. This token will reset destination. Okay. And do I have Solana as a target? No. I can bridge to Ethereum and Arbitrum.
Maybe if you can check out the other ones. I think there's.
Let's check out Wormhole.
I mean, the native one and Wormhole are basically the same because Wormhole powers the native bridge.
Okay. So let's
So
try the
the
native
other
one then.
alternative is Stargate, which is powered by Layer 0.
Wait. There's Monad on Solana. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do that. And then let's yeah, I'm gonna bridge everything to Solana and LP right now.
Nice. So do you want to LP for a bridge or do you want to LP on a Solana DEX?
How can I LP on a bridge? I've never done that.
Me neither.
I was thinking about a DEX.
I think the interesting play would be to put it on a bridge. Because like why would everybody is receiving their Monad allocation on Monad. You can easily bridge money also from Solana onto Monad. Everybody who's deep in the trenches realizes that the more interesting play participate in the Monad ecosystem. So I don't see a bullish case why a lot of people would buy Monad on Solana.
Can you? I mean, there's like arbitrage and stuff like that.
Of course.
Can you explain to me? Can you explain to me the notion of LPing on a bridge? Like, how does it work? I've never done that. I don't even know this existed. Because like, isn't the bridge just like locking up Mon on Monad and unlocking it or minting it on Solana or the other destination? Like, where would you LP here?
I think there were some bridges in the past where you were able to contribute liquidity. I have not LP'd into a bridge myself either, because in the past there were some like very large exploits of bridges. So that always appeared to me as quite a big tail risk.
I see.
I can check it out on another Google Chrome profile where I have wallets installed.
So it depends on the bridge. The concept of bridging in an LP intuitively doesn't make sense to me because you mint and burn, right? Like you basically burn the supply on origin chain and then you mint it on destination chain. Maybe there's another bridge design where you don't mint and burn and you have to put the liquidity into the bridge in order for it to unlock or something. But I think the main design is mint and burn. And in that scenario, bridging in an LP, I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid, but like it doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, if you click on the Stargate bridge among the options of the bridges, you can go to an earn tab, and there you can provide liquidity. But when I go on that earn tab, even if I'm connecting my wallet, I do not see any button to like LP into it, which is sort of weird.
Got it.
Or maybe
okay. I'm bridging my Monad.
Let's say just Ethereum, very basic. It just seems like I'm able to transfer, so I'm able to use the bridge, but I'm not able to LP into it, even though there is
Fuck.
an earn button. So yeah.
Now I need ETH on my Monad wallet to cover fees, I guess.
So wait, you have to pay in ETH to transact
I don't
on
know.
Monad? I don't think. I think
can't-
Monad is the MON is the native gas token there.
Is it?
It
Because
should be.
when I try to bridge to Solana, it tells me that insufficient funds for this transfer. Please add more funds and try again. But like,
Which
I have
bridge are you using right now?
monadbridge.com, which is
So
the
the
native
one?
Yeah.
Let me check.
This is an interesting episode, just like
Yeah.
DeFi in action. Okay, so you're saying there's no need for ETH as a gas token. Monad should be the native gas token of the
Shouldn't be.
ecosystem, which makes
Like
sense.
there's no reason for it. I mean,
Let me try to swap a tiny amount of Mon into ETH on Monad. Ah no, it says Mon is the gas token.
yeah, like why would they use ETH as like that doesn't make sense.
Okay, let me try to do. Holy fuck! There's like meme coins already.
Yeah, I think if you go on Dex Screener, you can. Let me see if I can.
Okay, I need to. Wait, we need to do something right now. Generational opportunity. Okay,
Are you buying Monad memes?
what is the main Monad DEX?
Let's check on. So there's Uniswap Live, there's Kuro, which I have not heard of. I mean, Curve is only relevant for stablecoins. I think FOMO is the mobile app. LFJ,
So Uniswap is the main one.
probably Uniswap, yeah. But let me see if I can find something on Dex Screener, which Monad memes are hot. Then it usually shows which.
So I think G Monad makes sense. This is no investment advice, please. But like
the lowest IQ episode ever.
Okay, now you know how we roll. No, but like G Monad intuitively makes sense. Where do I change the network on Uniswap UI? Here. Settings. I think it's automatic already. It should be automatic.
Seems like a lot of the Monad memes are on DYOR, so do your own research swap.
DYOR dot what?
Let me see. I just
No. Gmonad.
DYOR swap.finance. So a bunch of meme
Gmonad just rocked, I think. The chart
we
rocked from one
bought
point.
an Insta rock. Oh man.
No, I didn't buy it yet. That's the thing. But I may buy because like you never know.
I also have the chart open as well. Looks pretty abysmal.
Okay. Anago, what's Anago? Dude, wait. How are these 21 hours old? How are
I don't
these
know
coins?
how they are 20 hours old. I think if you look at the transaction history in your Rabby claim wallet, you can see that they sent the tokens out roughly 2 to 3 hours ago. So it's been live a little longer than just for 30 minutes when it was supposed to officially launch. But I have no clue how people were able to create a bunch of these meme coins around a day ago.
Okay. Is Gmonad the one?
It seems
Fuck,
like
it's rising. I want to buy this shit now. Okay, wait, what is where did you send the DEX to me?
let me. I'll pull it up again. 1 sec. I'll send it to you.
Do your own research swap. Weird swap, like weird DEX name, but I guess it works. Okay, this is not a scam link, sir.
I hope you don't get rocked. I don't know.
You even put Gmonad in there, man. You were
Yeah.
a proper degen right there. Okay, let me just. I'm probably gonna get drugged, but I'm here for it.
Entire wallet drained. Impeccable.
There's nothing on the
Zero
wallet.
monad
That's the thing.
experience. Oh, okay.
There's nothing on the wallet other than the airdrop, and this is like a new wallet I didn't use for anything else. So I'm gonna YOLO max airdrop. Max airdrop into Gmonad. Price impact too high. Wow. Price impact too high? Wait, this looks like a scam. A small percentage of my airdrop creates price impact of 50%. What the fuck? Is this looks like a honeypot scam.
Yeah, then this
Was
doesn't
this
work
launched by the
because
pump of Monad?
I don't know what DYOR swap is. Like, I have not done my own research. Like, I have not DYOR'd DYOR, so I have zero clue, to be honest.
Okay, so but you know what I find weird? In Rabby Wallet, when I click swap, base Mon, and then like the quote token, I see a Gmonad in here. Like they seem to show a Gmonad token in here, which I don't know if it's curated or I even see a chog, but like, so some person told me I should buy chog, whatever that means. I don't know
that
what it
NFT
is.
thing?
Yeah, it's like an NFT thing, apparently like the main project there, but like no quotes available for this. I just want to check the CA of this Gmonad thing. Are we mid curving this right now? Should we just put some small into Gmonad?
Maybe. Yeah.
Or are we gonna get drugged?
Maybe. I have not.
The drill.
Again, like I have
There's
not
two.
done my
By the way,
own
this is so
DYOR.
retarded. There is a Gmonad on pump. Like this is so retarded. This is like PvP. I just. I mean, anyways. You know what? I'm gonna buy some Gmonad, but like it doesn't even allow me to buy much, so I don't know how much I'm gonna buy here. I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna buying like something.
Well, you've kind of got me curious to try this out as well.
Transaction submitted. My monad balance reduced. And I don't know if I see Gmonad anywhere. Okay, now I want to buy more. So this is a funny episode. We're just like, let's just trade this episode, I guess. Blast the airdrop away. Failed to estimate gas. Okay, makes sense. Okay, I guess I bought some, like super small. The thing is like, this is, this is like, okay. So maybe to take a step back, why am I even bothering here? You know where you made the biggest gains back in the day? There was like a random meme coin, which you didn't, there was a Manding proof of work mining coin, which you didn't know if it's a scam or if it's real or what it is. And then you had to sell it on some like exchange like Trade Ogre, which was the scariest thing in the world. Like I literally did it in 0.1 BTC chunks just to like have as little, and BTC back then was 2-3K. Have as little BTC as possible on that exchange and withdraw everything away right away. But that's when you had like the 10-20x gains. So imagine, this is probably a scam, like no investment advice. It
By the
looks
way,
horrible.
Monad is super fast. Like I clicked on the transaction and it got insta confirmed.
Same. But imagine like this is a real token. Imagine this is a real token. Then that's
you are
how
having
it should.
Doubts that Gmonad is not a real token? Gmonad is like an attempt to genuinely reshape the fabric of society. It is the most ambitious, most meritocratic project this industry has ever seen. Gmonad.
I think the price is going up, by the way.
Yeah, because we shilled it on stream.
We have like 5 viewers, dude. You should open the Gmonad. Okay, this is not financial advice. Just one more time. Okay, I'm already down like a couple bucks of my airdrop, I guess.
Nice.
Into this thing. Like, trading is bad when you get a pop-up asking you to type confirm because of the slippage you're creating. Okay, I'm gonna stop here just to not like yeet away the entire airdrop. But okay, I have like some amount of Gmonad now, which is basically nothing. But this is the thing. Like, I think in the early seconds, you like can catch something interesting. And I'm not saying it's Gmonad, like, or whatever other token. It's just like everyone is scared. No one knows if this is a scam. What's the real token? And that's when you're brave enough to buy and you click the real thing. I think it's gonna be good. How do I filter all platforms, stack screener, just monad, save? Okay, and then just sort by most amount of volume. What? You know how much volume Gmonad has?
A couple of million, I think, when I checked.
3 million. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna LP Gmonad.
That's a good idea. I think
Like
if you try to do that on DYOR swap, it says coming soon on farms though. So like I don't know where the liquidity is actually coming from. Like that's quite a honeypot signal, to be frank. Like you can't LP on it. Like where does the liquidity come from?
dude, this is again 99% a scam. Oh, this pair has very little oh fuck, the liquidity is like $400. Yeah, this is a honeypot. This is like a scam.
Wait, how is it $400? I thought it was.
I know
like
it's 50K. It's 50K on the USDC pair.
Yeah,
but it's like a couple. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, we swapped from Monad into it, not from USDC. You're right.
It doesn't auto route?
I don't know. I mean, I swapped like the equivalent of like one saftiger Köftespieß into Gmonad, and like even I had a 2% slippage. So I don't think what it was routing us through USDC.
So that's see this guy, whoever created the Gmonad pair is printing right now.
But how do you enter into it? Like there's no ability to do that on DYOR swap. If you
maybe
click on farms, there's a coming soon popping up. If you are clicking on positions, there's like a tracking ID error when I do it on my Chrome profile.
Dude,
there's a V2 liquidity tab. If you click on trade and then go down to the V2 one, you might be able to select.
We got rinsed. So luckily I only did like $50 or something, but it was the worst execution ever. I think swapping from USDC is the play, and now I'm also getting proper Gmonad amounts, which look more correct. I mean, I have no idea what the decimals is and what the supply is and everything. Let
me see. I think I'll actually LP into this thing.
So can you tell me how to? Because I want to LP into this thing as well. I think like LPing into the main runner, if that's the main runner, I don't know, is like a good strategy.
You go onto DYOR swap, and then go on trade, click on V2, and then you just select Monad and Gmonad. So maybe you have to paste the smart contract or like the token address, the CA again.
Okay, I'm very curious if what we are doing here is alpha or if it's getting rinsed. But We're trying something. It was airdrop money, so whatever.
I really don't think that there's any alpha in this. Like, this is the most retarded thing we have done in a long time.
No, but like we are LPing early into a token that appears to be okay. Wait, it's at 130K market cap, so it keeps getting rugged.
Yeah,
So I guess we're exit liquidity here.
seems like. I mean, I can't LP into it because it's always exceeding the slippage tolerance, and there's no way to like adjust the slippage tolerance for some reason.
That's hilarious. Okay, can you tell me again what you've done? You clicked V2.
Yep. Then you can
Add
select your
liquidity.
balances.
Then you do monad and Gmonad. Dude, what is the sound?
Yeah, all
Enable.
my LP transactions are failing. It also never estimates the monad paid for gas in my wallet, which is, I don't know if like
For me, it says
it's normal.
insufficient B amount include in increase your slippage tolerance. Okay, let me try a tiny amount.
For me, it always says insufficient A amount. Try.
Okay, you put Gmonad first.
No, I put monad first and then Gmonad second.
Okay, let's change the slippage tolerance. I change it to 5%.
How do you change it though? I can't change it.
On the top, there's like a.
Oh, in the setting. Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, I did 5%, which I guess is like retardio, but it worked. I'm in.
Let me see. Hopefully.
I'm getting probably MEV'd.
Jared
like
from
crazy.
Subway is eating good. Yeah, no. Yeah. Imagine, like, you're showing up to a monad trenching competition, and like at hour 0, your opponent is Jared from Subway. Truly fascinating industry.
For context, how many million did he rinse from Ethereum MEV?
I mean, probably like in the mid to upper 8 digits, if not lower 9 digits. But I think like at some point in time, I don't know if he's still doing that, but I think at some point in time he made up like a very significant share of all gas fees paid on the Ethereum L1. Like if the slippage doesn't mess you up, I really like the execution speed of Monad. Like I click on confirm in the Rabe wallet and like 0.1 seconds later, I have the confirmation in my browser that the transaction went through. That is truly fascinating tech.
Dude, this is, I think, a scam.
Probably.
Like, what's your share of pool?
0.1%.
Mine says 0%. I think my tokens just disappeared.
Damn.
It's fine. I'm like, this is the type of experimentation I want to do.
This is how we revolutionize the future of France. Aping Gmonad live on stream. Damn.
Can you check in Dex Screener if the amount in liquidity changed?
When I LP'd into it?
No, like Dex Screener, you know, like how USDC had the main liquidity, but Mon had like tiny liquidity?
Yeah, now it's down to 35K.
Because the price dropped.
Yeah, that's probably. Let me see if I can somewhere find the.
But like, check the Mon pair. Is the liquidity in the Mon pair now higher?
Gmonad. There's only a wrapped monad pair.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the same. It was like $300. Now it should be at least like.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Then we're in.
Damn.
Dude, Okay, just kidding though. Like,
where did the LP tab go? Weren't you able to see the LPers?
Dude, hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. This is probably all like wrong data and it's not being fetched correctly. But if the 43 million volume on Gmonad is correct and we are like 50% of the LP, we can upgrade our microphones, I would say, the least. Okay, I'm in. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I mean, okay, so there's two outcomes. One, this is like a complete scam and like a honeypot and it's just going to go to zero and we lose everything. Fair. Or this is actually like a normal token, which may or may not be successful. Then I think we did like an interesting thing. But looking at the price action, it looks insanely bearish. Like, why the F is like Gmonad, which should be the main, like one of the main tokens. Okay, market cap. That sounds okay. The more I'm gonna talk, the more I'm gonna jinx it anyways. We did what we had to do. Let's see what happens. Whatever happens, happens. At least we're early this time. So
let me see.
Where do okay, you know what I'm gonna do? Take a screenshot of LP tokens in your wallet, such that we can compare the performance afterwards. I just took a screenshot.
Fine. I want to see if I can find my wallet on Monad Vision just to see if it actually went in there. I find it weird. Like, do you remember how to look up the LPs who enter and exit a pool on Dex Screener? Because it doesn't show any tab for that. And I remember on Solana you were able
but like it doesn't have it for
okay.
New ecosystems, most likely. I think what you need to do. Man, the weirdest thing is that this token was launched 21 hours ago for some reason. That's why I'm very skeptical of like what is happening here. But what's the main Monad block explorer?
So I think Monad Vision. I'll send you the link to the.
I have it. Monad Vision.
So that's the pool we apparently just deposited into, because when I look up my wallet, I can find a link to that pool.
Okay, I think we should transition. I honestly, like, I don't even want to think about this anymore. It looks weird. It's probably weird. It's probably gonna go to zero. We clicked. Let's see if it ends up being the real one. We're gonna eat a lot of Köftespieß, but let's see.
Maybe to briefly consider the market outlook for Monad, I found a poly market for the FDV 1 day post launch. So it's estimating at 88% that it's going to stay above 2 billion. Let's see how it 1 day after launch. Okay, so I would assume that the official launch was 50 minutes ago. That's at least how it was communicated. So we still have 23 hours to go. But it seems like the market is reasonably confident that it's going to hold up. Maybe to pivot a little more into like cycle doomerism and a little bit of hopium, just to take a look at the relevant inputs there. So the Fed decision seems to be back up. That consensus has become we are seeing 25 basis points rate cut. So 1 week ago, that was, I think, November 17, when we last talked. That's when confidence sort of eroded, and there was a brief period a few days ago. I think that's also like 1 or 2 days off when we made the bottom of the last local low, where it suddenly shifted to be consensus that there's not going to be a rate cut. But like inflation, of course, is still pretty hot, but it's not super hot. And like there are concerns about the employment numbers because there weren't any released during the government shutdown. And of course, there's a lot of revisions. And yeah, uncertainty in the economy. So I think it like makes sense for a rate cut to be consensus. Do you have any opinion on the Fed stuff, or is it just something you don't care about?
No, I do care about this. It's just I don't overthink it in terms of like I have zero influence in its decision, so I kind of like and I'm not. Oh, probably should, but I'm not making any portfolio decisions in anticipation of a potential rate cut or not. I'm not hedging. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just like comfy and spot basically for main positions, exposed mainly through companies which are slow anyways in changing exposure. So I follow it just like everyone else on CT, but I'm not necessarily doing anything about it. How about you?
Well, I think it's a relevant metric to keep in mind just because, at least temporarily, you still have a lot of reaction towards it. I remember back in 2022 when all the rate hiking started, it was basically like the FOMC meetings where the Fed announces the rate cuts or rate hikes. That was like a bi-monthly or like monthly or every 1.5 month Super Bowl event for all the unemployed people who were in the crypto trenches back then. Like people followed it religiously. And I think that the relevance of the FOMC has somewhat declined as the market has matured and we have shifted from a pure risk on environment of market participants to also some institutions who are less in the very short-term speculation camp and a little more into the like long-term trend following momentum camp of things. I think the like the there's no causal connection between the federal funds rate directly impacting crypto. It is not like crypto liquid funds and crypto VC funds are suddenly able to raise double or triple the amounts of capital, or that liquidity is immediately drying up if the Fed is raising rates by 25 basis points or lowering them. Yet it is still like a proxy for the overall health of the economy. What the Fed is more concerned about, is it unemployment and that is kind of correlating to economic resilience, or if it is more concerned about inflation. And if it's more concerned about inflation than employment, there's a high likelihood that just the liquidity for risk assets is going to dry up a little. But I think given that the US government is now making up 35 or 40% of the US GDP and like spending in within the US, if the primary political objective is to avoid a recession at all costs, you can, at least in nominal terms, avoid a recession. Like that is not an impossibility. And I think by now it has become extremely clear that also the Trump administration does not care about like being fiscally conservative or like stop spending money from a government perspective. Like regardless which political camps you're looking at, if it's left wing or right wing, like, nobody in the Western world has any incentive to like, stick to financial or like fiscal or monetary austerity. Like everybody has an incentive to just spend money to appease voters and like, look towards re-election in the next term. In the US, contrary to many other countries, you also have the issue of midterms. So like the important election cycles for you as a government to properly function and to push things through. Ideally, you want to have all three like government organs on your side. So you want to have a presidency, you want to have the Senate, and you also want to have the Congress. And during the midterms, like while the presidency only changes can change every 4 years, the Congress and Senate majorities, because they're usually very small majorities, they can shift more or less every 2 years. And that's why also into the midterms, you have a pretty clear incentive to just keep spending, to keep appease voters. And like it's
This
also some of
was
the, yeah,
what you were describing was the reason why I think there's a like very, very small by now, but like small chance the cycle isn't over.
very much
Because this
agree.
was my this was my assumption all along. My assumption all along was, according to like 4-year rainbow chart or whatever, we're gonna peak somewhere between first and second week of October. which is insane because like 10-10 happened obviously in between. I mean, but then there was this like, hey, like Trump has to do something about the midterms. And it's what any Trump-like government would do in any other country as well. And like this idea of the Trump administration criming something to like just before the midterms is, I think, the reason why I paid less attention to the main cycle chart, so to speak, and I paid more attention to, but this can't be it. And so far I've been proven like completely wrong. But I think there's like a 5% chance still that yeah, they do something.
Yeah, I think 5% is somewhat low. If you had asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said that the cycle continuing is sitting at like 70% and the cycle being over roughly at 30%. But that was before we kind of broke that key level of, I think it was the July or August lows, which were sitting somewhere around 100K. So I think it would have been very reasonable if we had filled the wick of the liquidation cascade on October 10th, because usually these wicks are getting filled. And I think on the spot markets, it was sitting around $104,000, $103,000. So if we had like briefly gone below 100,000, probably quite a few people would have had their stop loss there. We take out all of this liquidity and then kind of resume the move upwards, which also would have corresponded with the behavior in the other like macro relevant markets, the indices, gold, etc., which have also been weak over the last couple of days, but by no means as weak as BTC and crypto at large. And like I do not see by like any means, or like I have not seen any good explanation why markets are de-risking so heavily right now. Like everybody with a bit of common sense and like a bit of like ability to just notice what is happening in his or her surroundings can very clearly observe that over pretty much the last 5 years, the growth of the, let's say, real economy and genuinely societally essential and useful products and services is by no means as high as all of these stock indices have gone. Like if you compare it to the lows of 2020 and even the highs before the COVID crash in 2020, and you compare it to the current price marks, like the real economic growth in the West has mostly been stalling. Like there are no 0 to 1 innovations in like any societally relevant fields, maybe except for AI. But I think even for AI, it's still going to take, let's say, somewhere between 1 to 3 years before we see like actual improvements in the productivity of people. Because while people are using a lot of AI, I still, at least from my experience, I do not think that there's any high quality output coming from people replacing their own thoughts with AI as of now. Like it helps you abstract away some annoying tasks. It helps you to speed up research tasks, but a lot of people who use AI to produce their content, who kind of, for their social media posts or for like company internal memos, etc., the degree of that being adjacent to the whole AI slop term, I still think is a big issue. And like people are like, oh yeah, I can automate everything with AI and I just created this with AI. Look how fascinating it is. Like if you actually read through it, you can still spot that it's being written by AI within the first minute if it's like an essay. And you very quickly come to the conclusion that while it is impressive that AI is able to synthesize all of these words and all of these concepts, and it's able to explain certain things. If it's about kind of I still remember from the German high school A levels where you had like 3 different levels of interpretation, and the highest one was kind of you interpret stuff and you try to kind of create the like the essence out of it and apply it to something different. And I think on that field, AI is still lacking behind the human mind by a significant margin. Like it is very well able to synthesize stuff, to summarize stuff, and to explain things to you which you have zero clue about. But to actually interpret things and to derive new conclusions and new insights from that, I still think it is not very good at. And all economic progress and like all asymmetric returns are made on the margins. So it is a necessary condition to create new insights and to have like actual thought and like actual new output from things in order to create progress and economic growth. And I still think we
Okay.
bit of catch
So
up.
that I'm glad you added that last part, because I think that's where I completely agree with you. I think, if you are truly an expert, or like you said it, like the edge happens on the margin, that's nothing that AI can do by itself. But how much? So I completely disagree with everything else you said, because how much of an entrepreneur's or like a CEO's day-to-day work is creating that margin versus managing random things? I would say it's 70% managing random things, taking care of firefighting, admin stuff, and 30% taking the time to think, to create that edge, to create that margin. And I think I wouldn't argue that AI helps you to create that edge in the 30% of your time, but I would say that it definitely saves you some time on the 70%. And I see it myself, and I think we are definitely creating apps faster, and I think we're already seeing that teams are getting smaller. Like, I think we're gonna see like 5 to 10 people teams, maybe even sub 5 people teams, to create billion-dollar companies in the next years. And I think that will be fueled and powered by AI. I do agree though that it's not because AI told them what to do or create that edge. It's just because one metaphor I use is, we used to have the term 10x dev, which was like an engineer or a developer significantly more productive and efficient than the average engineer because they're so good at what they do. And I think now with AI, you probably, like, we're entering an era where you're going to see 1000x devs, right? Like a dev that manages multiple AI agents, QAs the work, is just faster getting things done. Like, even in engineering, there's so much overhead dealing with config files, environments, deploying stuff. This stuff doesn't add value to your product. What adds value to your product is talking to users and thinking through the exact like user experience and feature you want to build and you want to create, right? And for that, you still have to think and you still have to come up with it. But the actual implementation afterwards, AI can do. Like, AI can do that, and then you review it, you iterate over it. So I think I wouldn't agree where, in terms of like, AI is going to do the thinking for me to create the edge, but I would say AI is going to help me significantly to get there faster. And time to value is everything, especially in the startup world. So imagine like time to value for me as a founder being 2-3 months before. I think now it's 2 weeks. And I think that's significant.
Yeah, I think I might be a little bit biased there because like most of the work that I am doing is kind of creative work, and like I have to look at a bunch of stuff, filter out 95 to 99% noise out of that, and then try to distill the essence and package it in a novel way that creates insight into like a certain sector in DeFi or whatever. And I think for that, it like if I'm asking AI, particularly I think Grok is doing a good job because it's more native into tapping into Twitter, and obviously you have a lot of crypto content on there. It's good at explaining individual concepts, but it's still struggling to sort them into the grander scheme of things. Like if I'm asking it a specific question about a particular mechanism in DeFi, it's usually able to come up with a very good answer. Not perfect, but like good enough to understand it. But when it comes to more complex strategies or how development X is going to impact protocol Y, it is still, yeah, where a lot of catch-up work has to be done. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an AI doomer. I think
Yeah.
at least like on a company productivity level, I think it genuinely has the potential to help us become more productive. I think the societal and like content slop, whatever AI addiction outlook, I'm much more on the doomerism side there because I like,
Okay. So
yeah, but that's like material
it's
for another episode, I think.
it's easy to detect AI slop. And again, like, let me start with what I agree. I think most people use AI lazy, which leads to a lot of AI slop. Agreed. I think most AI content out there is AI slop. Agreed. I think if I look at the replies under my tweets, I mean, I didn't really have replies under my tweets before. Now it's like 100% or like 99% AI slop. Agreed. However, if you take the time to compose good prompts and create custom threads with your tone of voice, with content that you've produced before. Now, like, I'm 100% sure you're able to create content that sounds just like you, where it's almost impossible to detect that it's AI slop. And think about it. If you would take the time to iterate over it until it's perfect, until it sounds just like you, and even if it doesn't sound like you, say, hey, I made these edits, try to kind of materialize what I've done here and try to incorporate it into the next and create kind of like a custom prompt that helps me to create content that sounds like this in the future. You do this for like 2 days, you iterate over it, and then you're going to get to a point where, okay, cool, it's not perfect. Like, I think perfect is the enemy here. Like, if you're looking for perfect, why? Like, if it gives you the 98% solution where you have to change 5 words, that's good enough for me. That still saves you a ton of time. So you dump your thoughts. It's bullet point based. It's narrative story based. And you get prose. And the prose is 95% you. So you have to maybe edit it for 5 to 10 minutes as opposed to write it for 3 to 4 hours, right? So that's still a massive improvement in my mind. And again, I think perfect is the enemy here. For me, for creative writing purposes, it works like a charm. But I hate writing. I like outlining and bullet points, and like, even I'm a linear thinker. I'm not creative. Like, I can't abstract. For me, everything has to be stupid simple. And I'm just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, that's the order of steps in my brain. Like, I'm not good at like making a story or composing prose or adding like a nice metaphor to that. I'm a very boring linear thinker. And that's why for me, that's why also I don't have taste, and for me it's good enough. But on the day-to-day, I really think it does the job. And if you are in an industry that requires outstanding creative skills or creativity when it comes to tone of voice, I mean, then it's your core. So do the work and don't use AI. Fine. But like, what business is that? Like, any tech company that has a decent brand should be able to generate, again, the 95% version of their content and social media content with AI. And even if there's like certain words that make it sound very AI, just remove them. Just create like a blacklist filter of words to not use. Like, there's solutions for everything. I would say it's lazy to say it doesn't work for me unless you try it out for multiple days, iterate over your process, and really come to the same conclusion. And then there's still the wild card that I always use, which is, cool, it's not perfect today, give it 2 more releases, Like, I mean, I keep saying that at some point we have to get there. But I really think that, like, it's getting better so fast. Again, for me, it's already good enough, but maybe my standards are lower.
I think an important point to differentiate here is if people are giving AI kind of an unfinished input, but that is still specific enough for it to understand which context you're coming from, and other people who are trying to replace entire work streams and like the entire ideation of their work with AI. And I think the latter ones are like, they are making themselves obsolete, not because AI is better than they are, but just because their work output is not of a good quality. I think that's why the sentiment on crypto Twitter around the alpha to be found there and like the quality of content is so bad, because many of the people who are just doing crypto Twitter with the goal to monetize it with some like ref links or partnerships or whatever, they're producing content without giving AI very specific inputs. And like, it sounds very cringe. There is no actual insight, and it just sounds like slop. And I think the 80-20 principle does not apply to a sector which is still somewhat saturated of a lot of copycats and where you can only make profits on the margin. Like, for that, only the last 20% count. So the last 20% don't make up, like 20% of the output, but pretty much 99% of the output. So most people are not at like 89 or 98 or 95% of where they should be if they did it themselves. Most people are at 20, 30, 40%. And I think 20, 30, 40%, the way it works for some very sort of these bullshit sectors in the economy. For example, if you are in management consulting and like the majority of your job is just to repackage bullshit with like a bunch of fancy words without having to give actual insights, at least in the verbal sense. Like you usually need to have some numbers to back this stuff up, but to turn these numbers into a story, the story itself does not appear to be very sophisticated in many cases. I think for that it is sufficient. But if you, for example, for people who are writing on Substack and crypto, if people there started to use AI right now, I don't know who would read that. Like, who could take that serious? I think for most instances, you are still too far away from replicating or like, I don't want to say replicating in a negative connotation, but to like create good content that can compete with human-made content. I still think it's, taking a bit of
No,
time.
I genuinely disagree with that take. A good friend of ours, Rafa, is writing a book, Spanish language, and he loves a certain author and the style of a certain author. He's written 9 chapters himself, and the book in total has 12 chapters. So there's 3 more chapters he has to write. He instructed ChatGPT 5, I think, to write chapter 10, giving it the outline, and he pasted his previous 9 chapters. Obviously, that's not a trivial task because like a single prompt doesn't accept that many tokens. So you have to like chunk it and like, again, you have to get comfortable and proficient using AI. But he did it. He created the context. He used his tokens to add his style. And then he said, also, I'm writing in the style of this Latin American author. So please take into account my 9 previous chapters and the style of this author and the narrative and story I just gave you for chapter 10, and please write chapter 10. And it did. And he gave it to his girlfriend. And, his girlfriend knows him pretty well. And she was like, wow, this is the best you've ever written. So maybe that speaks to your point of, okay, it doesn't sound like him because it was too good. But I would just argue that you can, like, I don't know what the process of writing looked like before in terms of like, do you really sit in a dark chamber and you take a pen and you write every single piece? Or do you have Google open and you search for certain words, you search for certain metaphors? And if it's the latter, which I think is much more natural, at least to me, like I would look up things constantly. How does this idiom go again? Like, what's this saying? Then it's just like a more opinionated and convenient version of that. However, if you're like, no, like every word comes out of like from my hand my original thought, sure. Like, and by the way, I think original writing in the era of AI is gonna be the differentiator. So nothing against it. I think like if your stance is original writing is superior to AI, first of all, I think you're right. And second of all, I think that will now be more than ever a differentiator. So go for it. I just think that most people don't have the skill for good original writing, and they're much better off crafting their prompt and creating content with AI. AI slop is just lazy usage of AI. Like if I see these comparisons in certain words where it's clear this is creative, oh, what an original thought. It's almost like blah, 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 did blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, stop it. Like this is not you don't talk like that. But you should try even giving it a slang. Like you should try talk like Gen Z, understand what Italian brain rot and you name the Gen Z concept means, incorporate that style into the response, and then like you get a completely different style. Or you can even say something like, write like an Albanian who grew up in Switzerland for the last 20 years, and like you can go very deep, and that is shocking. Like that result is, oh wow, like this is funny because it's true. Sometimes it's just stupid, but I think all of that can be fixed. My experience, actually, my biggest problem with AI usage is it degrades over time. So even if I have a perfect setup, the output is not deterministic. Meaning, if I take the exact same prompt with all of the context that I have and all of the references today, and I do the same in 2 weeks, it almost always is worse in 2 weeks because the performance degrades for some reason.
Do you know why that is?
I think it's because humans are stupid and like as they use it, they just worsen it. I don't know. It's a common observation. I probably contribute to it getting worse, but like every new version in the beginning, I'm always like, whoa, this is pretty, like Gemini 3. I started using Gemini 3 and I was like, whoa. For the first time since Claude Code, Opus, and Sonnet 4.5, I'm like, that's worth, like, I now changed my workflow to get certain tasks done with Gemini 3. And I love the result. And so far I haven't seen it degrading. But in the past, especially with ChatGPT and Anthropic, I've seen it degrading. I don't know why, but I think it's a common issue. I think it's a known issue.
I remember that back from I think it was when GPT-3 came out. That must have been a year or a year and a half ago. I remember people talked about that. I think it was on the All In podcast where they complained that the performance was degrading over time. But like, I have not actively noticed it, at least that I could say, okay, there is a clear correlation to time where performance delays. Like, I think depending on the task, with some results I'm very happy with, especially if it's like on these lower levels of just explaining something to me, which I really have no clue about, and some other tasks where I'm just not very satisfied with the output. I think like one last comment I wanted to make is on the topic of kind of creative writing on your own. I genuinely think that, particularly in my generation, it is going to lead to a lot of second and third order negative consequences that people are no longer forced to write stuff on their own. I think that is a very underrated topic because, yes, you can't grow food by like being a good writer. There's no physical necessity in life to be good at that skill or to be at least exposed to doing it during high school. But
Okay.
I genuinely think that being able to sit down and write just like with whatever you are coming up in your head without using like any digital device, or maybe only having like one or two printed out sources, and you have to derive from that very limited input, I genuinely think that is a crucial skill for free thinking, for structuring your thoughts. And I do think that is like, this is going to genuinely limit human innovation capabilities
Disagree.
decades.
Disagree. Here's why. If you look at mankind, humanity, over like how many years do we exist as Homo sapiens? 70,000 years?
I think
Something like
a
that.
little shorter.
I would say every 10,000 years, the set of skills in order to be a superior human change vastly. In the early days, it was probably more. There's another human walking into the room right there. In the early days, it was probably more related to physical strength or survival tasks. Then it probably at some point came down to agriculture and these type of things. And today, for you, it's critical thinking, logical structuring, blah, blah, blah. I would argue that if AI changes the way we think, but the outcome is just more productive, then it's fine. Like, I don't think you have to stay a critical thinker just because at some point without AI, that was the way to go about it. I'm not saying we should get dumber. I should just say we should change and adapt. Like, it's Darwinism. We should change and adapt our skill set according to the era of AI, assuming the outcome is going to be more productive and like better. And I'm not saying stop being a critical thinker. Like, I think there's some basics, like, you know, rules of physics and math and gravity, like certain things never change. And I think like certain aspects of philosophy and critical thinking, I would definitely say is part of that. But for example, to be more specific, the way we structure work, the way we break down work, the way we think in models, I think all of that I'm down to change with AI. Like all of that I'm happy to adjust to a new system that didn't really make sense before AI because, again, like it didn't make sense because it didn't exist. So I hear what you're saying. I think the part where we are aligned is the baseline needs to be, we have to get smarter and the outcome has to be better. We can't get dumber, but how we get there, whether it's critical thinking, model thinking, pattern recognition, or something else, I think I'm okay with it to change. And I think it will change. There's no way around it. Like my kids even today, like when they ask me a question, I'm like, did you ask ChatGPT? And they're like, oh no, let me go ask ChatGPT. And 90% of the time, they get the answer. And I don't know, like, I feel like they should just get very familiar using AI. And I think, like, if you're like a curious, bright individual, you will still have original thinking. Like, I don't think you can train that away. I don't know.
I
Maybe.
definitely think you can. If you need to kind of have, you know, a lack of something to make up to, you need to have some sort of chip on the shoulder that motivates you and that triggers you, and you need to have like some sort of suffering you're confronted with every single day for you to generate productive output. I think we severely underestimate, especially in the Western world, where kind of the basic necessities of life are more or less covered, how much we are castrating the genius that is sitting idle in many people just because they no longer have an incentive to utilize that. Like there's nothing left to fight for. All the physical necessities are covered. Like there's not, I think there's no, the upside of engaging in whatever innovation or creating something genuinely useful has become so abstracted away that it stops out, or it just like demotivates the vast majority of people who would otherwise be capable of like creating good stuff. I think we very much underestimate that. I'm very concerned about it because we, like, with AI, we have the potential to fulfill or at least get very close to the antique Greek vision of the philosopher king, and almost everybody living like that, where you are strong physically, but also strong mentally. And you kind of focus on the, let's say, more highbrow and sophisticated areas of thinking and of life. And you don't have to worry about the basic inputs of like food, etc., and survival with the majority of your mind share anymore. And while we are getting closer to the latter, like basic necessities are met, we are not using AI to focus ourselves on the more sophisticated and like interesting and intellectually challenging stuff. It's, we are trying to replace that as well, and we're trying to automate that away as well. And I think that is going to have very detrimental second and third order consequences down the road. It's still
I'll
going
give you one more thing.
Cates for that to materialize in the world, but I'm personally quite concerned about it.
I'll give you, and this is philosophical, obviously, but I'll give you one more extreme example. What about brain implants and Neuralink?
Yeah, but that is definitely getting very philosophical because
No, it's a
more
game
of
changer.
I'm much more like, I'm not anti-tech, but I sympathize
Anti-cyborg.
more with the paleo-libertarian than the techno-libertarian camp.
Yeah.
And I think that trying to overcome ourselves and our physical limitations instead of optimizing ourselves within our physical limitations is the biggest defeat to our species that we
Disagree.
could ever imagine.
I disagree again. 99%, 99.999% of all species that have ever lived on planet Earth are extinct. I think it's very likely, if we take the stance you take, that we're going to go extinct. So I'm not saying, oh, like without this brain implant, you're going to be dumb and you can't do basic tasks. But I think, like, when it comes to transcending our current way of living, going interplanetary, going maybe beyond death, I think it's very interesting to think about that direction. Again, like 99.999% of all species that lived on planet Earth went extinct. I think we're going to go extinct if we don't do that.
I think the chance of us getting extinct, most likely through our own hand or by our own hand, is much larger if we are trying to play God and if we are trying to overcome our physical limitations than if we draw some sort of arbitrary red line. And I completely agree that it is extremely difficult to draw that red line, like where are we supposed to draw it, and then also ensure that nobody overcrosses that red line. What I could very well, and now like that's getting a little bit like abstract, but what I could very well imagine to happen in a few decades is some sort of Butlerian jihad, as it was in the Dune book by yeah, like Yeah, I forgot the name of the author, but I think I could very well imagine a world where we return to some sort of like interplanetary feudalism, where you have a very kind of isolated, secured access to interplanetary technology, which is kind of the pinnacle of technology there. But in our day-to-day lives and day-to-day experience, there is a much stronger focus on the sort of basic inputs that we have entertained ourselves with centuries or millennia ago.
Yeah, no, it's a fair take, and obviously, like, there's some romanticism in me that doesn't want that future, but the egoless progressive side that just like adapts to change as opposed to trying to fight it almost sees no way around it. But I mean, yeah, it's obviously way too philosophical to go deep in this episode. We actually are almost at an hour and a half. I completely didn't realize how much time we used. I think we spent like half an hour in the beginning of the episode trying to like ape into something on Monad. What's the position looking like?
So I think let me see, like pull it
Oh,
up.
it just printed the giant red candle down, but before that it was looking okay actually.
Yep. Let me share the.
Do you see the most recent red candle?
Yes, sir.
Man, this price action is weird.
Yeah.
Like before that we were doing fine, I think.
Yeah, we wrote it up almost to, yeah, from, I think we went into it somewhere at 200K. We wrote it up to 300 and now we're back down to below 200. But yeah, interesting barbell content. So like aping monad shitters and talking about the Butlerian jihad. Truly impeccable podcast, man.
Truly impeccable. Yeah, no. I just want to say one more thing, last thing, which is if I were in this space, crypto, not building, but only trading or looking at charts, I wouldn't want to be in this space. It is the most depressing, the most manipulated, the most kind of like life-sucking activity that I can imagine. I only do it on the side because I'm in the space and like I do it with kind of like low amounts. But I think like the building part is really what gives energy. And the reason I say this is like I realized most people in the space, all they do is trade and they kind of live the neat lifestyle. And I think that's very dangerous. Yes, you may hit a good trade and make some money or whatever. But I think in general, if you would be outside of crypto, just building something real, that's much higher EV in my opinion. And I'm saying this a bit randomly, but I'm saying this because you could easily waste 10, 15 years of your life doing this.
I
As
fully
opposed
agree.
to
I
building
mean,
something
I've only
real.
been in this space for 5 years now and like not always like as my main sort of occupation thing, but this has definitely caused some, I don't know if it's irreversible or reversible, but it has definitely caused brain damage. Like it really messes you up. In retrospect, I don't know if it was a good decision to ever enter this space, but yeah.
We shall see. We shall see, my friend. All right. Thank you, Max.
Was great catching up.
Likewise. Bye bye.